Want to do a DIY project while my husband's at work? Come on. I'm Jenny with Three Swings Furniture, and today I'm gonna do something I've never done before. So I thought I would take you along. We're gonna paint the tile in my bathtub surround, and my husband really doesn't know that I'm gonna do this. So let's just see how it works, huh? I'm gonna use a product called Slick Stick. It is from Dixie Belle, and it is a primer that allows you to paint really glossy, hard to paint surfaces. So step one of this whole process is obviously to clean the tile. Nothing crazy, I just used white lightning, sprayed it down to give it a nice clean, to get any soap or anything that you can't see off the tile. I did tape off the areas that I don't want to get paint on. I have a feeling this could be a little messy. So I did tape off the bathtub and the wall. And then we're going to apply the Slick Stick as our primer over this tile, give ourselves a good surface to paint, and then do some stenciling on the tile just to give it the updated look, to kind of help the bathtub come out of the 80s, see if we can't do something a little fun with it. So let's get started. All right, here is Slick Stick. So it's just a white primer. It's kind of thick and a little smelly. And we are just gonna brush it on. We are gonna use a couple coats of this. So the instructions say to apply this, let it dry 2 to 3 hours, and then give it a second coat. So this is going to be a 2-day project until we are ready to paint. I'm going to get this first coat on and show you how to do it. I'll recoat it after it's dry, and then we'll do the fun stenciling and painting tomorrow. So that's how this is going to work. I think you could use a roller with this, but the brush is nice because it's getting in all the little grout lines here. It's going on pretty easy. It's smelly in the can, but it's not terrible as I'm applying it here. Now this tile is all in good shape. It's all, well stuck to the wall. There's no cracks or anything like that. I just want to change the way that it looks. Okay, there we go, not too bad. It's a nice thin coat. You can still see the design underneath the primer, but that's fine, because like I say, it's gonna get another coat of primer, and then I'm actually gonna paint the tile black, and it's going to have like an off-white design on it. So this will all cover one way or another here. I feel like that goes on pretty easily, and it's not super drippy or sticky or anything like that. So let's keep going, see what happens. Okay, it's day 2 of the bathroom tile makeover. So yesterday we did 2 coats of Slick Stick. I showed you how to do it. I let it dry for 2 to 3 hours and came back and did a second coat. It is definitely very clearly primer. It's not completely an opaque coverage, but it does make a really flat finish, which is what we want. We want something for the paint to really stick to. So that worked well. It was a little stinky, but not too bad. So today we're going to give it the base coat of paint, and I'm going to use Midnight Sky. It's really super dark gray, almost black, which is what I want on the base, and then the stencil, when I do the stencil on there, will lighten it back up. So we're just going to give it a coat of paint and let it dry really well before we stencil it. Yeah, this is really pretty. So again, super dark gray, almost black. I want something a little dramatic. I'm just using a Dixie Belle mini brush to paint this on. I think you could use any brush, whatever your preference is, your favorite one. You could use a roller for this if you wanted to make it go quicker, but the brush gets in all of the grout lines, so you'd have to go back and brush it anyways. So I'm just gonna use this brush. I do really like this color. It's really pretty, nice and dark, without being so stark and black. And since we are painting over the white primer, it is gonna take 2 coats of this color to get a nice solid coverage. I'm just gonna let this dry. It won't take long. It's already starting to dry since we're inside. Give it half an hour, go back through with a second coat just so it's a nice opaque color. And then I will be back for the stenciling, and it is going to be so pretty. So I'll see you in just a minute. Now I'm gonna come in with a stencil. I had this stencil custom made so that it would fit 4 tiles, and that's nice because it's just going to give us a bigger pattern. So the pattern isn't going to be repeated a million times in this little space, and it makes it really easy to line up. This center grid here, I just line it up with the grout lines, and that keeps us nice and straight. I've just put painter's tape on all 4 sides, and that's going to help us keep it in place. And then I'm going to use drop cloth for the color of the stencil. So the tub, and I'm not sure you can see it, the tub is like creamy white color. It's not the color I would pick if I was going to pick a new tub today, but drop cloth will match. It'll go with it, tie it all together so we don't have to completely clash with the tub. So I just have a little paint tray down here, and I'm going to use a roller to make this go nice and quick. You don't need too much paint. On your roller, but you do want to get it evenly covered. So that's what we've got going on here. Just a little roller like this. I'm gonna start in the middle and kind of work my way out here. All right, so I'm taking my time here because I want to get it pretty evenly covered. I don't want to have to come back and do a second coat with this stencil. I've used this particular stencil before downstairs on my floor, and it's very forgiving. I think this stencil kind of looks like you know, the concrete tile that's really popular now. So if there is a few places that it turns out maybe a little more distressed, not as solid of a color, I like that. That's kind of the look I'm going for. That's what makes it so forgiving. It doesn't have to be a perfect stencil. I'm not the best at stenciling. I admit it. I don't have any like magic stencil power. So you can totally do this too, even if stenciling isn't your favorite thing when we pull it back. See, it has that beautiful look. It's almost a little bit distressed in places as is, but I'm fine with that. I like that. When we get the whole thing completed, those little areas you're not going to notice as much. So that's it for that. We're just going to keep repeating this process as we go along. And what you do, so this would be here next. I'm going to skip that section and go to the next 4. That'll give this time to dry so we can use our tape here. So I'm just going to skip around. Now here's a good example of what to do when your stencil doesn't quite fit. So you can see the bottom here, it's not a full tile there on the bottom, which is just fine. This is really, it's a bendable stencil, so it's really easy to work with. Let me show you what you do, and we'll get a nice print. What I'm gonna do is just take the roller and kind of smush it down as far as it will go. Smush it down in there. That's gonna give me the pattern. There we go. So you can see we've got most of the pattern. Now I can leave it like this, again, for more than just stress look. Or if that really bothers me, I can come in with a small brush when this is dry and just finish out the little bottom of the pattern, which is what I'll do here, just along the bottom of the stencil. We'll just finish it out. I can see enough of the shapes, and that will be just fine like that. So I'm gonna let these dry. This one is probably almost dry. We're not using a ton of paint. Let it dry a little bit longer, maybe half an hour, before I would come in and do these center sections. So I'll kind of skip around, go all the way around. By the time I make it around, I can come back in and do the places that I've skipped. We'll let it all dry for a couple hours, and then we'll come back with the top coat. So I'm gonna finish this up and just keep going exactly how I've been doing it. Okay, my stenciling is all finished, and I am really excited with how it came out. Now, if you look really closely at any of the tiles, you'll be able to tell it's a stencil. But I think on the whole, it really does look like the cement tile that's so popular now with the really pretty pattern. So any way you crack it, this is such an improvement on what was here before. Now, the paint is all dry, but we cannot just leave the paint. We have to seal it. Just so it is protected from any water. Even just splashes will eat away at the paint and make it chip off. So to seal it, I'm using gator hide. I've got it right here, and I'm just going to use a Dixie Belle mini brush. All we're going to do is brush it on, give it a good even coat, let it dry. If you feel like you need more than one coat, if it's a really heavy use area, we don't use this bathtub a whole lot, but I might do a second coat if I feel like I need it. It's also going to add a little bit of shine to the tile, so it'll make it look more like regular tile, and I think it's just going to finish it off really nice. So let's get started here. The nice thing is it soaks in, so you can kind of tell where you're working. And I'm just gonna really go tile by tile here. Okay, there we go. It is a little bit tedious, but obviously after doing all this work, we want to protect it and seal it. So I'm just going to keep working on this. If you want to do a second coat, give it 2 to 3 hours to dry between coats, and then you would just repeat the process until you feel like you've got a nice, hard, solid finish on it. I'll kind of see how this dries, and I might decide to do a second one. And that's about it. We've got a finished project. I'm excited about it. I hope you enjoyed this as well. I will show you the final pictures here in just a second. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you later.